ranging from businessmen to representatives of BlackBerry, to, in this case, Adrian, who has been looking a lot at the issue of maps, in particular, how we can really find out what the need is in Penrith and the border. How much internet connection do we have? And on that note, over to Adrian. Thank you. Sorry, do you want to go up there? Yeah.
Hello. Hopefully my presentation will appear.
So, Alice is the presentation? Yeah.
Perfect. Rory asked me to have a little look at what the scale and nature of the problem. So rather than helping Rory out with some answers, I'm actually trying to describe how bad it is, really, I guess. This first one is a little map of Rory's constituency, and it lays out where the different broadband speeds are likely to be available. This information was sourced from Sam Knows, who in turn get it from BT. Sam Knows, many of you may know, is the website. You can put your postcode and telephone number into, and it tells you what broadband packages you can get, what sort of speeds you get, who's competing in your telephone exchange, all that sort of stuff. The red areas are those areas that fall below, or likely to fall below, 2 megabits per second. These are the areas that are particularly focused to the government's universal service commitment at the moment. So you see, this is a fairly large problem. One of the challenges, of course, is actually an area like Rory's constituency. It's actually very sparsely populated. So maps tend to distort that a little and make it look a little worse than perhaps it is, but still, over a third of the population in Rory's constituency are likely to get less than 2 megabits per second. In fact, which is about 50% or more worse than the national average, considerably worse. Compounding that, this is a slide of the level of competition for broadband in Rory's constituency. If you're lucky and live in Penrith, in addition to BT, you'll find 2 other operators. If you live outside that, you will find that only BT has invested in broadband in your area. To give you a perspective on that, if you were to go into a telephone exchange in London, you might find 8 or 9 operators. Plus you would find a Virgin Media cable service, you would probably find very good 3G services, and you will probably find other wireless operators. When you're looking in rural Cumbria, a large percentage of it, you'll find nobody that BT has invested. If you average it out, England and Wales is about nearly 5 operators in every telephone exchange on average. The North West as a whole is actually above average, it's nearly 6. But that's heavily skewed by Manchester and Liverpool. In Penrith, or in the Penrith and the Borders area, it's about half a competitor, which is an interesting statistic. Earlier in the year, the Department for Communities and Local Government did an exercise where they wanted to look at where next generation services were likely to appear commercially. Where were the places that the industry might invest? And this is a map of the data set that they produced at 2/3 coverage. The general feeling is that somewhere around 2/3 of the population is likely to see next generation broadband services, for example, during the term of this government. None of this constituency, not one area, is considered to be probably going to get services. Penrith and a few other of the larger towns are on the maybe list. But that accounts for only 25% of the population. 75% of the population, it is thought, are deeply unlikely to see next generation broadband services delivered commercially using today's business models. The constituency itself is 609th out of the 650, and most of those ones that rank further down are in very rural areas of Wales, Scottish Islands, those kinds of places. So it sort of gives you a sense of the scale of the problem for this area, that up until now only BT has found a model to invest in this area, and looking forward no one else has really come up with one that uses today's infrastructure business modelling. I thought it was also interesting to look at what the impact other countries' policies might have. There's a lot of talk of Finland also has a universal service commitment rollout, and they've taken a slightly different tack, and it's often cited as one that will make a big impact if it were deployed in other countries. Now, modelling, so what they've said is they want to deliver a fibre optic cable within 2 kilometres of every community. And being civil servants, they had to define precisely what a community was. And it's any area that contains more than 70 people per kilometre squared. If you model that across England and Wales, that would bring fibre optic based backhaul services to within reach of 94% of the population. So it would have a huge impact across England and Wales. If, however, you look at a constituency like Penrith and the Borders, what it actually does is it increases a ring of services around Penrith slightly, maybe introduces a little bit more coverage on the outskirts of Carlisle, but actually makes no difference to the rest of the constituency at all. It is just too sparsely populated. So even in some of the best examples of interventions internationally still struggle to find solutions for an area like this. I think largely, I think I've probably depressed you enough at this stage and laid out the scale of the problem that hopefully the rest of the day people will be able to cheer you up a little bit. But thank you for your time, and I hope you found that useful.
Thank you, Adrian, very much. There will be time for questions at the end of the